Hi friends, I'm Kaylee. I'm a pediatric physical therapist and creator of the Movement Mama. I am here to talk to you today about infant seats. So let's dive in. Today I'll be sharing about the Bumbo versus the Upseat and giving you my review. But the first thing that I want you to know is that infant seats is really a poor name for them. We don't want to be putting infants in these seats. So the first thing that you should know when thinking about putting your child in a seat like this is that they're only developmentally ready when they're beginning to press up onto extended arms from tummy time. That tells me that their back and core and arms are getting strong enough to support themselves in a seated position. Now the second thing I want you to know is that I don't, as a pediatric physical therapist, recommend putting your child in a seat for any longer than 15 minutes per day. Now of course if they're eating, that's completely fine. If they've started solids and you need a chair to use, put them in a seat by all means. But for actual play or putting them in any sort of position, less than 15 minutes a day if you can. In fact, 15 minutes or less total throughout your day is the gold standard to keep your baby cruising through their motor milestones. Now the second thing I want you to know is that infant seats will actually not teach your baby to sit up. I think this is a huge misconception in the parenting community, is that I want to teach my baby how to sit, so I'm going to sit them up and I'm going to put them there and they'll learn how to sit. And that's actually not true. The best way that your baby can learn to sit is by being on the floor, learning, growing, and developing their muscles and playing with you in a seated position where you're able to adjust and modify as they weeble and wobble all over the place. If you're wanting more information about the why, I recommend limiting container time. So containers are things like infant seats, baby swings, bouncers, exercisers to 15 minutes or less per day. I'm going to link a post. Now let's dive into my review between the Bumbo and the Upseat. The Bumbo is a pretty popular option. Most of you probably have heard of this. The Upseat is a newer brand that's just come out within the last few years that I'll be speaking about as well. I first want to talk about the pros of each. So the pro of the Bumbo is that it is more cost effective. On Amazon, the Bumbo with the tray is about $80 US. The Upseat runs about $100, but has a few different options that I'm going to share with you in a moment. The Bumbo fits smaller babies, so this may be a pro for you without the proper education. Many people put their baby in the seat very early on, and the baby can sit up independently. That's because the baby is able to maintain their rounded posture that they had in the womb in the seat, and it holds them upright. What we don't want is for that rounded posture to continue, and that's where I really feel like the Upseat is the best option. I've used this in the clinic for years, and I also have used this with my own children. So inside the Bumbo, it's a little bit difficult to see. There's a rounded back and a deep well seat. This places baby with a C curve of their spine, which is normal and common early on, but over time we want your baby and your child to develop a more upright posture. The Upseat seat has an angled seat that allows for that more upright posture. Now what that means is that your baby may not be able to sit in this as early as the Bumbo, but that's okay, because that tells me that they're not probably developmentally ready to be sat up in an infant seat anyway. I also love, with the Upseat, the size and the way these leg holes are shaped. So you can see they're out much wider than on the Bumbo, and they're a much larger diameter, meaning better alignment, great for hip health. The next thing I want to talk to you about is the holes for your baby's legs. You'll notice on the Bumbo that the holes are much smaller, meaning that they can really help secure in your baby's legs. But what that actually does is creates a more narrow shape to their hips that is not great for hip development. In everything that your baby's positioned in, we want their hips and legs to be able to splay out. This allows their leg bone to properly sit in their hip socket, and that promotes good hip development and reduces the risk of dislocation. The Upseat is created in a way that positions your baby with their hips properly seated in the joint. It also has a larger leg hole that allows for the seat to fit your baby for much longer. So if you'll remember, I said this is a higher price point, but it actually is able to fit most babies up until 2 years of age versus the Bumbo, which I think only lasts a few months for chairs. I also love the fact that the Bumbo comes standard with these straps that fit to most chairs. We take this to grandma's house, to the park, anywhere you can think of, and we're able to securely attach this as a seat on the go that I know is going to keep my baby in proper alignment while he or she is eating. This option of the Bumbo does not have straps underneath it that attaches it, and that runs the risk of having an accident where baby is able to topple out or scoot themselves off of a support surface. So I definitely recommend the Upseat for that reason. I wanted to show you too that each of these seats come with a tray. Now the Bumbo's tray is much smaller, again, because it doesn't fit babies nearly as long as the Upseat. So this is really nice. It's a nice wide tray for snacking and eating. This one is much smaller and much less room for food. Both of them attach with a similar mechanism. Kind of have to pop it on top and then squeeze it under the bottom. Same with the Upseat. Just pop it on. So they look pretty similar. I will tell you, the material of the Upseat is much firmer and more dense than the Bumbo. I believe that this creates a more safe environment for your baby to sit in. Many babies, as they get older, can begin to push themselves backwards out of these seats, and it's very dangerous. So I love that the Upseat, again, has the nice strap system to make sure that they can't push themselves out of it or push themselves off of a surface, and that it's firmer and more dense to protect their little bodies. So if you haven't figured it out yet, the Upseat is my clear winner. Both as a mom and a pediatric PT, this is my favorite chair to recommend for families looking for a chair on the go or something smaller and more compact. This fit our daughter until she was about 2 years old, and we were able to sit it in the floor and use it not only as a snack chair, but as an activity chair as well. As I mentioned before, we take this thing to the park. We take it when we go on family trips to see relatives that maybe don't have a high chair that fits our children, or maybe don't have a high chair at all. The number one thing that I need you to know is that having your baby in good alignment and posture is not only going to help them develop in a sound and healthy way, but it's also going to keep their joints protected from harm. So we talked about how the hips are in better alignment. This fits your baby for so much longer. Look at the size of those leg holes compared to the Bumbo. So if you're gonna make the investment for 20 bucks more to fit a year and a half, probably longer than the Bumbo, this one's totally worth it. So I hope that review was helpful. I'm gonna put a discount code below for you guys to use if you're interested, and I can't wait to hear how much you love the Upseat, just as much as I do.